So my name's Kimberly. I'm here to talk to you today about the importance of addressing trauma and healing and from trauma and personal growth. So like recognizing that you have trauma and recognizing that you need to deal with it and therefore growing. So I'm a 23-year veteran dispatcher. A long time ago, I was hired in a quasi-dispatcher secretary capacity in a very small retirement community called Sun Lakes Fire District. And it now belongs inside of Arizona Fire and Medical, if you're familiar. So now they have like a community of different fire districts that have joined together for financial reasons. I worked for Phoenix Fire for the last 18 cumulative years. I had 2 tours. It took about 11 years off in between so I could raise my kids. I'm a lead dispatcher. I've spent the last 15 months on the training team. We just welcomed 18 new dispatchers into our center, and that's 2 separate classes. And I'm a wellness co-chair and a peer support shift lead and a member. And I'd like to begin with a brief story that I want to share with you. So imagine, if you can, a tear-streaked, confused, stunned young girl. It's a Sunday afternoon in September, and it's near 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and she's sitting in a lawn chair right about here in her grandparents' front yard, shaded by this gigantic mulberry tree. So there's an ambulance and a fire truck parked out in front of the driveway, and all of the curious neighbors in the neighborhood have formed a creative and conservative perimeter around the property. And they're all well-meaning. They're just interested in what's going on because they've known this family forever. The people that built that house built it in the 1940s. The man that owned the house built it with his bare hands, and they're now raising their second generation of children at 8123 Olive Street. So all but one of these audience members keeps their distance, sorry. So Frank rode the bus to school with this girl, and he's a year or 2 older than she is. They don't know each other, but he's brave enough to approach. He approaches her, he touches his hand on her shoulder, and he asks, as he's crouching beside her, "Are you okay?" And she's clearly not okay. So she blurts out that her mom is sick, and she's too distraught to say anything further. So Frank says, "All right, I'm going to pray for you and your family, and I'll check in with you later this week at school." And he stayed true to his word, and he and the girl became lifelong friends, and he remained a trusted ally of hers for years to come, decades to follow. So this simple gesture that I'm talking about, a simple gesture of bravery and kindness, like the willingness to reach out to somebody that was obviously in a really bad place, that action just dwelled in her subconsciousness for over 40 years. And in that moment, in that front yard, it became apparent to the little girl that even a stranger could provide a positive and powerful and helpful influence to someone that's absolutely consumed in crisis. Sorry. So now I'd like to ask each of you to take a moment to personally reflect on your own story. Like, why did you answer your life's calling to delve into a career in public safety? So I took an informal poll at my workplace. My fellow dispatchers, I asked them each, like, hey, what brought you here? What got you interested in the fire department? And of course, I'm asking everyone, so it's not exclusive to fire department employees. But just please, in the chat, if you could briefly describe, like, why, like, what's your why for being here? And I don't have chat up, so if someone could read it to me, that would be helpful.
I'm all over it.
So what attracted you to public safety, or what made you want to become the person that you are with the career that you have?
Wanting to give back to all that came before, from Patricia. We got folks typing. Leo wanted to help others, so he needed to help others so he could help himself. Improving the community, giving back to those who have given to them, family tradition, service has always been in the family.
9/11.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it makes my heart hurt.
One person says they started because it was a job, but stayed because it was a way to help the first person in need they spoke to. And then somebody else writes, I did crisis response for over a year and it screwed me up. So I got curious about how police and fire do it every day and fell in love with the population.
Sorry, your career was damaging. I feel like I'm going to touch on that in a little while. All right, well, thanks for contributing all of that. I appreciate it. Some of the reasons that my coworkers gave were they liked the pay, they liked the city benefits, they liked shift work, even though that sounds weird because shift work can be weird, but being able to juggle their children's schedules and have one parent present in the home while the other parent was at work and vice versa. So that was one of the reasons. And then some of them said that they had an affinity for fire trucks, and some of them said that they had affinity for people in uniform, which I totally get that. And they also said that they had family members in the private and the public sector. So all of similar reasons, but also like the most important reason, the most like identifying factor is like they wanted to make a difference in someone's lives. And I think many of you said that in your sentiments. So I appreciate that. My story, my reasons for joining dispatch is a little less storybook than that. It's a little bit less conventional. And unlike the clearly illustrated path this Venn diagram is portraying, I did not figure out what my calling was. I kind of fell into the profession in a rushed and haphazardly sort of way. And I had very little time to think about what I wanted to do when I grew up, because I didn't really allow myself any time to do so. My situation was that I was about to become a mother at 21, and I needed a life skill and I needed a decent paying job with benefits stat. And in just a single semester, I discovered that I could get an EMT certification. And then I realized like how many doors that would open for me. I could work in the emergency room. I could work on an ambulance. I could work in dispatch. I could work in the front and back office of a medical practice. I could be a firefighter. I kind of roll my eyes at that because I'm a total chicken, so I could not be a firefighter, but you get the idea. It was like very opening. It gave me a lot of choices, and I was pretty panicked at the time. So I was happy to know that I'd have a lot of choices ahead of me. So the silver lining in all this panic is that I was at least able to identify that no matter where this path took me, that I was going to get to be fulfilling the desire that I always had to be a helper. So that's not for you, but that's what you can do for your country. So behind this moral challenge in President Kennedy's inaugural address, he asks each of us to contribute in some way towards public good. And I feel like his sentiments really parallel. Sorry about this. I just noticed that I've got this extra message on my screen. I hope you guys aren't seeing it. Okay. Parallels like what public service actually is to me. And so while a lot of us can accept the job for the pay and the benefits and the prestige and the alternative schedules and the things that set us apart from the 9-to-5 people, those are the whats. And then the whys are how we can make a difference by choosing a career and having a calling and making a positive difference in the lives of others. The people that I just want to help people are the heroes that I want to focus on today. And any of you empaths out there, the ones that have pity for those in need, the ones that have a desire for service, compassion to serve, those that treat other people with kindness and understanding, and those who are generous with your time and generous with your resources, and the ones that are willing to offer help to people in crisis. Like, you are the focus of my talk today, and you're who I'm dedicating it to. So thank you. Let's see. Not letting me go forward now. There we go. Okay. So why do people become empaths? Empaths is a buzzword that has been circulating around quite a bit lately in our field, and I feel like everybody has heard that word multiple times, but I just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page, that we all understand that an empath is someone that has an unusually strong capacity to feel and to comprehend other people's mental states and emotional issues. Okay, so how are empaths made? There's multiple ways, but the four main ones that I've read about are you're either born with it. So some babies enter the world with a heightened sensitivity to temperature and lights and touch and smells and movement, and they're very focused and alert immediately after being born. And so those babies seem to have this inert capacity to feel things a little bit more than other babies do. And then some children inherit genetic empathic traits from their parents. So whatever habits and predispositions that your parent can have, you can obviously inherit those traits. And then children can develop a heightened sensitivity about those around them based on the examples that they're showed. So if you have an influential role model like a grandparent or a favorite teacher or a mentor or even your parents, they can be extremely successful in influencing children and helping them develop and honor their gifts. And lastly, and then somewhat unfortunately, childhood neglect and abuse and exposure to traumatic events can directly affect one's sensitivity as an adult. And these hapless circumstances can wear down your usually healthy defenses and coping mechanisms that are supposed to be nurtured and cultivated by capable and loving parents. So in essence, in the absence of security and comfort, creates a palpable sensitivity to recognizing and identifying those who don't have any security and comfort. So to prevent any spoiler alerts, I neglected to share the real title of my essay today. So I'm a sucker for a really good plot twist. And so I'd like to talk about my personal trauma. If you haven't put two and two together, or connected the dots, I'm the 12-year-old, and I was scared that I was going to lose my mother because she had overdosed on a combination of heroin and cocaine when I was 12 years old. And I was really scared that I was going to suddenly lose her because just 2 years prior, I had lost my very best friend and grandmother to cancer. And so I felt like the important people in my life, the key players in my life, were just dropping like flies. And it was very concerning to me at this time to see my mother in this state. I don't think I knew that my mother had a drug problem at the time. So everything that I saw was completely brand new to me. I didn't know what drug use looked like. I didn't know what needles were for. I hated shots at the doctor's office, but I didn't think someone would willingly do that to themselves. So it didn't make a lot of sense to me when I found my mother in the bathroom with all this paraphernalia. So anyway, I don't remember what autumn day this was. I don't remember what day this event took place, but I do remember calling my Aunt Phyllis, and that's my Aunt Phyllis right there. And that's my beautiful mom. And I called my Aunt Phyllis because I found my mom bloodied and bruised by a seizure that she had had in the bathroom. And she had struck her head on the sink and she had struck her head on the toilet, probably both. She said that she was kind of spinning. She chipped her front tooth, and she had beautiful green eyes that were just black with pupil dilation. So she looked really weird to me. She looked like a soulless zombie. I wasn't even sure if she was awake when I first laid eyes on her. It looked so like fake or not real to me. So she could barely ask me for help. And I had absolutely no idea how to help her. I didn't know what to do. The ability to call 911, this is the sadness of it all, is that the ability to call 911 in Kansas City, where we lived, was not implemented yet. It was implemented 6 months after this traumatic event. And so I went through this personal tragedy with very little tools or resources. And so Kansas City implemented 911 in Valentine's Day of 1983. So that just shows you how old I am. All right, so no call waiting, no cell phones. I had to quickly dial 911 on the rotary phone that was fixed to the kitchen wall. And then I had to tell my aunt what happened in the best way I could describe it, which probably wasn't a very good way. And then I had to hang up with my lifeline and my only resource, so she could call the emergency services for me. And what felt like an eternity went by. I know it wasn't the 3 to 5 minute response time that Phoenix has. Sorry, Kansas City, but at the time I waited a really long time for help to arrive. I know this because I was talking to my mom about what happened, why she did this, is she okay? And all the while she was struggling to breathe. I was giving her small sips of water out of a metal Band-Aid container because she was thirsty, and she wouldn't let me leave her again to go get a cup from the kitchen. So you should also know that my 3-year-old little sister, that's her right here, Natalie, she was a witness to all of this. And thankfully youth was on her side, and she has zero recollection of this entire occurrence. This is Frank, if I didn't point him out before, but that's my friend Frank, who was brave enough to talk to me and comfort me in this really trying time. So eventually the first responders showed up at my house, and my mom was just losing the ability to breathe on her own at that moment. So they ushered me outside quickly. So I found the lawn chair to go sit and cry, and one of them kept my sister inside the house with them to keep an eye on her for safety, and the rest of the crews worked on my mother. My grandparents arrived home from the grocery store. They had an all-day grocery shopping event. They're children of the Depression, so they were haggling and taking their time at the grocery store. And they came home in the middle of all this chaos, and they were just driving my mother away in the ambulance as they arrived home. So this whole experience, I don't know if I can convey how utterly helpless I felt and how utterly useless I felt, that I had no control over the situation. I didn't know if my mom was going to live. I felt like I had no safety and no comfort and no security at this time in my life. I felt like absolutely alone. So it helps me to know what other people have going on in their lives. It really helps me to know that if you have a traumatic event in your childhood, like Leo shared yesterday in our chat, that I would really like to know if you have any childhood traumas. You don't have to be explicit about it. Just if you would include it in the chat, I'd like you to share. It would help me in this moment if you could. So maybe someone else will feel comfort from it too. So again, I'm not looking at the chat. So if you could just read out loud anything that comes up.
Muted, but yes. Yes. We got lots of some folks already saying yes, exclamation points. I know a lot of, I totally get the whole empathy part of the being hyper vigilant, and lots of childhood trauma definitely hits home for some folks. And always being Chris Putton raised his hand. We got lots of folks responding.
I'm so glad. That makes me feel like I'm not alone, and I know that it has that same effect on other people that are struggling. It's just so reassuring to know that someone else has been in this really ridiculous place with the helpless feelings that I had. So thank you all for sharing. I'm definitely going to go through them when the talk is over, so I can kind of regroup and put these triggers to rest, so to speak. So thanks for sharing, everyone. Thanks to God, my mom actually survived this incident, and she eventually found some sobriety, which was wonderful, because she and every member of my family, they're fantastic people. So I've got a lot of BS like circulating in my family tree, but I also have some really good people in my life, and I had some really good role models. So I don't want to paint this picture of just absolute despair. I am a product of my childhood, and I have good roots and good family foundations. But a lot of people along the way have developed some dependencies in my family, and we've all been afflicted with disease here and there. And so yeah, I just want you to know that I had a lot of good and bad mixed together. So it wasn't just a total nightmare to grow up at 8123 Olive Street. I actually really loved it there. I credit the first responders for saving my mom, because they absolutely did. And in turn, them saving my mom, it absolutely saved my life too, because who knows what kind of a turn my life would have taken had I lost my mother. But who I really accredit to being a true hero was Frank, because he didn't really know me at all. And I doubt he ever really realized the impact that he had upon me. Just that small gesture really sustains me, and it kind of gets me through a lot of the hardships that I've experienced in my life, from my childhood all the way up until right about now. So it should also be mentioned that this is not the only singular traumatic event in my childhood. My young self witnessed drug abuse, domestic violence. My parents loved to throw things at each other and scream at each other, and they had a lot of passion in their relationship. That's the way I look at it now. But at the time, I was like, wow, these people I don't understand why they're in each other's lives. They don't even like each other. And then I also witnessed the apprehension of my dad in an FBI raid. So that wasn't exactly the best Christmas morning I've ever had. So it's a really long list of what I've been through, but I've learned through therapy that this is one particular memory that I needed a lot of help processing. Okay, so let's lighten the mood a little bit, and then get back to my unplanned pregnancy and my extreme lack of preparedness and my total panic with needing a job. So all kidding aside, some really legitimately positive things came from the newly developing life that was inside of me. I had true intentions. I wanted to be the best mom a baby could have. I wanted a solid career that could provide a good life for her. And after reviewing all the avenues the EMT certification would take me, I realized I'd stumbled into a field that seemed to be tailored to me and my previous experiences. So, like, who else better to coordinate emergency situations and critical events rather than someone who's experienced them firsthand? So I was barely an adult, but in my 21 years, I had experienced more trauma and more critical events than anyone else I knew of had experienced in a lifetime. So I was clearly unfazed and unaffected, or so I thought, by stress. So even better, I had empathy to help people in need. And what made me a certified triple threat was my youth and ignorance and a passion to be like Frank and to offer kindness to strangers. So my empathy, born from trauma, was exactly what set me apart and propelled me into my very first job at in dispatch. And this is Sun Lakes Fire Station 232. It is south of Chandler, Arizona, where Chief Duncan McPhail opened the door to my destiny when he hired me on the spot in my very first interview for dispatch. And I could talk for hours about what led me to giving you all this talk today, but I'm not the only guest speaker, so I'm going to try and be conservative with time. But I felt like at this moment that I'd found exactly what I was meant to do career-wise, and I was immediately good at it because I felt like I was unfazed by anyone's issues. I had seen everything, I had heard everything, and nothing seemed to faze me. And those two things combined, the fact that I had arrived and the fact that I was enjoying it and I was good at it, it made me extremely happy. But and I have in my notes, cue ominous music. There is a glaring irony in having a sincere desire to help and fix problems for those that are in need while grappling with the aftermath of unresolved traumas. Those very situations where I was effortlessly able to help other people became my triggers. So essentially, the career that I'm drawn to, the only career that I've ever had in my lifetime, and the one that adds so much value and so much meaning to my life, is the very thing that stirs and awakens my darkest childhood monsters. So it didn't happen right away though. My honeymoon phase in dispatch looked like this. So at Sun Lakes Fire Station 232, dispatch was located inside the fire station. And it was behind the reception lobby in what I'd like to call a dispatch closet, because that is as big as it was, that little bitty space with my refrigerator full of water and really old computer equipment and that clock that helped me learn military time. So this is where I spent most of my time. The apparatus bay for the fire station was just down the hall, so I could physically see the fire trucks leaving the station as I dispatched them. So I thought that was super cool. And the fire chief's office was right down the street or down the hallway in another direction. The fire chief and his executive assistant, Judy, worked there. And she immediately took me under my wing and proceeded to tell me everything I needed to know about office operation, like word processing software, how to improve my typing skills, just anything I'd need to know about writing letters. I think she showed me a little bit about bookkeeping, but I'm not really a money person. So anyway, she took me under her wing and really showed me and taught me so much. And the funny thing is that dispatching at this time in my life was completely on paper. So there was no computer logbook, there was no CAD. I had to pick up this Ericsson phone handle to actually answer 911 calls. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's this faint little microphone here sticking right out of the wall, and that's where I spoke on the radio. Really, really goofy. So Yeah, everything was recorded in like logbooks, and all the logbooks are behind me in this picture. These are all the logbooks of the previous years of Sun Lake's call histories. So fun fact, Sun Lake's averages 1 to 2 shifts per, or 1 to 2 incidents per shift at the time. This was 1993, I think. And so I had a lot of extra time on my hands. I spent a lot of time developing my secretarial skills and my office etiquette, and then I was also developing a camaraderie with my coworkers because the fire crews also resided in the fire station. So I spent way more time doing those things than I did actually dispatching calls and answering 911 lines. Okay, so we dispatched our calls, we dispatched on the backup Chandler channel. So Chandler's backup channel, that's what I meant to say. And so I thought the natural line of progression would be to go work for Chandler Police and Fire, and that's what I did. So after a brief 6-month employment with Chandler Police and Fire, I happily returned to Sun Lake's Fire, where I felt way more at home in the fire and EMS world. And I'm not throwing any shade to police dispatchers because I have a huge level of respect for you. It just was not a right fit for me. I really needed to help people with medical instructions. And but thank you for what you do. I appreciate you so much. And I love working alongside of all of you. So when I went back to Sun Lakes, obviously I wanted more than 1 to 2 calls a shift. And so I set my aspirations for Phoenix Fire. And happily and pretty quickly, I was hired. And I felt like I'd won the lottery when they hired me. And I still feel that way. So whatever, everyone knows what dispatch is, but do you really understand the depth of it? So I just want to compare my center with Phoenix Regional Dispatch Center. We dispatch for Phoenix, and we also dispatch for 30 surrounding entities. So we're quite busy. We are the second largest secondary public safety answering point, so secondary PSAP in the nation. So we're right behind FDNY. And we coordinate efforts in technical rescues, mountain rescues, water rescues, hazmat, incident management, and emergency medical response for 5 million customers. And we cover a range of 2,900 square miles. And our operation is 24/7, 7 days a week operation. We work a variety of 5 8-hour shifts or 4 10-hour shifts, nights, weekends, holidays. And our training, yes?
When you're switching around something, your voice is fading out. I think that maybe your microphone is moving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I won't move from this time forward. Okay, so our training is approximately 6 months long, and it combines 15 weeks of classroom instruction and several weeks of on-the-job shadow training. So dispatchers in Phoenix Fire Department can average answering 50 to 100 calls a day or per shift, and that's a far cry from my 1 to 2 calls in a 24-hour period at Sun Lakes. So with that knowledge, I'm going to introduce the elephant in the room, which is stress. So specifically unmanaged stress, my unmanaged stress. And so had I not been an empath born from trauma, I might have fared better in my profession for a bit longer before the trouble arose for me. So imagine my triggers, like this is the analogy I want to use, but my triggers, imagine them being tiny pebbles and my psyche being a woven basket that I'm carrying in my arms. And 1 or 2 pebbles every once in a while, insignificant, but imagine a few triggers multiplied by 10 times per shift. And because I have the usual work stressors that I'm not managing, and then plus I have the large baggage of trauma that I'm carrying around from my childhood, it took about 2 years to develop into what I'd like to say an unfavorable version of myself. So 2 years, I'm deeply struggling to hold on to a very full basket full of pebbles. So my inability to manage my stress eroded my emotional intelligence, and it didn't carry, I didn't carry my weight as a team member. I can remember my favorite coworker, Debbie. I remember her face just dropping when she saw me looking for a place to sit and she realized that I would be sitting next to her. Because I can't imagine why she didn't want to sit with me for 2 hours and listen to me complain about my life. And I can also remember a particular drowning call that we took that it might have been, I don't want to say a highlight because it was a tragedy, but like it might have been sort of a source of pride, knowing that I did my part if I had. I took a drowning call, and it launched a series of articles in the Arizona Republic, because that was the year that water safety, it only takes a few seconds, that sort of was like on the horizon. And so, you know, Phoenix being a place where almost every house has a swimming pool, it really caught a groove. And so the Arizona Republic wanted us to be front page of the pilot article, where all of the people that were involved in the situation, the dispatcher, the paramedics, the parents, the emergency room staff, the police officers that arrived on scene, anybody and everyone that was touched or affected by this drowning that didn't go well, was posed around an empty gurney in the emergency room to reflect, oh boy, sorry, to reflect the loss of the child, and to reflect like what an ongoing experience it was for everyone involved, and that, you know, literally all of us had been affected in some sort of significant way. So upon closer inspection of this particular incident, because I'm about to be on a front page article, I wanted to hear what my tape sounded like. I wanted to, and frankly, it's kind of embarrassing to say, but we took so many drowning calls that summer that I didn't know which one they were talking about initially. I was not sure if, you know, if this call went well or if it went bad. And so when I actually listened to the recording of my call, it became a significant source of shame, because I was not my best self. I was not my best self as a dispatcher in general, but I'm trying to maintain some composure here because this is really difficult for me to say, but I was so impatient with this caller, and the caller was probably a 12-year-old, and it was the sibling of the child that drowned. And so you can imagine that I immediately felt the connection between my childhood self needing somebody to help and me completely failing at failing this child on the phone, because I was super stern. I didn't have any sort of compassion for him. I was just basically doling out orders and trying to get his mom to let go of the baby so we could start CPR. And mom had the child clutched in her arms, and she was doing laps around the pool. And I didn't make much of a difference. I mean, I felt like I didn't make much of a difference. And I was super embarrassed, because I didn't want to be a part of this drowning campaign. I didn't feel like I did my part. I didn't feel like I had helped at all. And I didn't want to be a part of this campaign, and I didn't want my picture in the paper. So aside from that, the impact on my professionalism just kind of snowballed. I had many coworkers avoiding me. I guess, I was kind of bitchy or salty. I think salty is the better word. I had inconsistent sleep patterns. I was on night shift for several years. My stress was just like through the roof, and I had less patience with my callers, a diminished level of empathy for those in need. My lack of pride in my work translated to a lack of pride in myself. My standards were lowered. I assumed a sedentary lifestyle. I ate a bunch of crap, and my emotional intelligence was just, I was super like quick to react and not very calm and not very good. And my attention to detail started suffering. So I was sending the wrong addresses occasionally. And yeah, I was just not being a very good dispatcher. And I was less willing to help out with overtime because, you know, I didn't care. And I really developed an indifference for my workplace. And it's like, it's so embarrassing to say that now, because I just said 3 minutes ago how much I felt like this was my life's calling. I felt like I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, and I was just, I don't want to say a bad word, but I felt like I was just basically like shitting the bed. And I developed a sense of like imposter syndrome. Like, why am I even here? What good am I? So not wanting to leave my private life out of things, I'm going to touch on some things here too. So I was going through a custody battle, and we spent about $50,000 in legal fees for childishness and ego and pride and bitterness, and all at the expense of my kid. All at the expense of my beloved kid, who is 32 years old now and still carrying around all this crap we gave her. So my body is a physical manifestation of my stress. So if I'm feeling great, it's reflective of how I feel. Like I feel good, I look healthy, my hair grows, and then alternatively, tired, cranky, chubby, clumsy, sloppy Kimberly is just, you know, very good indicator that she's not handling her stress very well. So how's that for wearing your feelings on your sleeve? I wear my feelings from like head to toe. When I feel poorly about myself, my past choices, full-on pity party mode, that's when Misery Liz company takes over and I make poor relationship choices. So I choose partners that are avoidant, that exacerbates my anxious attachment style. And attachment style is where you need a lot of reassurances and you don't feel very confident. And so then you pick a partner that is the exact opposite of the kind of partner you need. And because they've got their own stuff they're dealing with. And then that just like kind of snowballs. You know, your personal life's not doing good, your work life's not doing good. It's a whole big ball mess. And if I don't get a lot of those reassurances from my partner, then I start not trusting them. And that makes it even more difficult to be around me. So I find it quite difficult to maintain healthy relationships when I'm not managing my stress. So I hope I've painted a clear enough picture to everybody about not addressing your stress and coupling it with a stressful career and then adding the cherry on the cake of it, that you didn't resolve your childhood trauma. So it can erode your well-being and effectiveness. Being stressed just doesn't mean a bunch of symptoms like unhealthy relationships or problem drinking or sedentary lifestyle. It can make you physically ill. So currently, I have high blood pressure and I have insulin resistance. And I just learned a new word recently. It's called comorbidity, which basically is a disease and two separate symptoms in your body. So obviously, hypertension is cardiovascular symptom or system, and then insulin resistance is, I believe, the endocrine system. So I've got two systems, two diseases, and I hope I lose that vocabulary word from my existence very soon. I feel like at this point they're correctable. I'm still like, I'm not too far gone, and I feel like I can eradicate these things with some positive choices. All right, so enough of that. So my turning point, the shift towards positivity for me and what made a difference in my existence was a Netflix binge. And what happened when I was at home alone with my kids were at their dad's house, And my night shift sleep schedule, I was just looking for something to like basically help me fall asleep. And so I came across this Netflix series called Life Hacks, and I love life hacks. I love shortcuts. And so I came upon, one that told you the better way to tie your shoes, and another one was how to not make assumptions about people before you get to know them. So all these really helpful talks, but the one that really stood out to me was Sean Acor's talk on the happy secret to better work. And it's 13 minutes long, and he's a phenomenal speaker. He's engaging, he's funny, he's captivating. He's got a little bit of a Texas twang, and 13 minutes went by and I was ready for a different life. It was that powerful. And I highly recommend you look at it. I have the link on the slide, but all you have to do is Google TED Talk, Sean Acor, Happy Secret, and there you have it. So the very next day, I picked up a 99-cent spiral bound notebook at Walgreens, and I started my 21-day journal. So at the end of this 13-minute talk, he challenges you to take a 21-day challenge where you journal 3 new things that you're grateful for every day. So you can't just say my family, my job, my car in the garage every day. You have to come up with new things. Okay, so it has you like waking up in the morning and ready to identify the 3 things that you can write down later on. And then you're supposed to record 1 positive thing that happened to you in the last 24 hours. And when you write that down, and when you write your gratitude down, it actually allows your brain to enjoy it twice, which is kind of a way to drive it home that you have a pretty good life. And then he wants you to exercise for 30 minutes a day. He doesn't specify what, he just wants you to get your heart pumping for 30 minutes a day. And that's easy enough. You can just take a walk if you need to. And then he would like you to meditate for 10 minutes and allow your brain a reset, because we're constantly thinking, and not only is it allowing your brain a reset, but it's also going to facilitate better sleep. And then finally, he would like you to record a random act of kindness that you do for someone else. And so in hopes of more interaction with my talk, I'd like you to please include in the chat like anything that you are a recipient of kindness, or any kind of good deed acts that you've done recently, please.
I just want to say, while you're asking for folks to type in, we've had a lot of encouragement in the chat. People have, Jesse says, you're not alone. We've all made mistakes and have pages in our book we wish weren't there. Good luck for you for turning it around and growing into who you are now. Joy says, thank you for being vulnerable with us, Kim, sharing your stories. I feel connected and seen and can totally relate to you. Jessica says, you're very empathetic and brave, Kimberly. Your ability to share about your personal childhood trauma and continue to support others as an adult shows the resiliency of the human spirit. Thank you. Also, thank you for sharing. Change your lens. This video is used during Blue Courage. Exercising with a million exclamation points after it. To answer your question, exercising.
Thank you.
Lots of folks have thanked you for sharing so much and bearing your soul and appreciating and supporting you. And so we do have a question right now. So can you reiterate the question? Meditate at night is one of the answers we've got.
What was my question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Can you reiterate your question? I'm sorry.
My question was anything that you've been a recipient of or a giver of a good deed or an act of kindness towards others, or that you received. So any compliments that you received, or thank you notes, or good deeds that you did by, like maybe buying someone's coffee behind you in the drive-through, or something like that. Just good acts of kindness that you would throw out there as suggestions. So I can fortify my list because I'm running out of things to try.
Smiling and saying hi.
Mm.
A couple bought dinner for me in the drive-through, and I bought for the car behind them.
I love it. I love it when that happens.
Reached out to a friend just to listen, and listened to some diagnoses, news of cancer, holding the door open for others, complimenting folks. Coworker noticed I had been on a rough call and brought me a bag of Hershey's Hugs chocolate.
Thanks, coworker. My coworkers are super great.
Took her neighbor's garbage cans up to her house for her.
Awesome.
After they had been emptied, I'm assuming. 2 weeks ago, groceries were paid by somebody in front of the line, telling my mom or dad who was struggling with kids that they are amazing and impactful too.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, please continue to add if you want to, but I feel like in the interest of time, I should get moving a little bit more. I've got 4 more slides, I think. So Sean Acor obviously lit a candle of hope inside me and ignited a thirst for more ways for me to quench my happiness. And so now my life is quite brighter than I ever imagined it could be. My relationships with my kids have improved, and my grandson, so gratifying, and our bonds are what I feel are unbreakable. So I feel like I'm making huge strides in my personal life, my family life. And then my coworkers now recognize me as the happy employee, the one they want to sit next to, and the one that identifies the good in people and looking for good qualities in people. I'm the one they come to for professional advice, and I'm the one they come to write their letter of recommendations or serve as a professional reference to them. I'm a good mentor, and I'm an excellent trainer, and I treat every caller, every customer with kindness and respect, no matter what. I rarely get yelled at. It's kind of a gift. I love it. I relish in the fact that I don't get yelled at by callers anymore, because I used to. But now I can explain myself, and I can talk to people with frank honesty, and I can inject a little bit of compassion into my tone of voice, and I can calm people down very quickly. So even, I have this little game I play with myself. I try to get a thank you from every single caller when we hang up, before we hang up. And then if I get a God bless you, like, that's extra points. I'm going to do something nice for myself at the end of my shift. My coworker Debbie, the one that didn't want to sit by me, she asked me what the heck happened. She's noticed a huge turnaround in my disposition, and I was extremely excited to share with her about Sean Acor's talk. I made her watch the video, and I even let her read a little bit of my journaling. And I'm just so incredibly proud of the strides that I've made. I feel like I've made such a significant difference in my attitude and my behaviors that it's worth sharing. And I'm happy to share like this light with you, because these are the best things in my life. Okay, just really quickly, we're going to talk about some of the habits that I've created and some of the helpful relationship building methods that I use, and then what I do to indulge every once in a while. So the healthy habits that I incorporated are daily. I meditate, I hike, I am embracing the Ayurvedic lifestyle, which means that I'm very mindful of what I'm consuming in my body and in my mind, and the conversations that I hold, what kind of food I eat, and what kind of television I watch. And I incorporated an affirmations recording that I listen to on my way to work, so I can start work with a positive mindset. And I do breath work in the morning, and I am starting to experience what grounding means, essentially walking barefoot on the earth to absorb the earth's energy. I like to do lake days with my friends from work. That's what we call Therapy Thursdays. And sometimes we go on retreats to Sedona and other places for hiking trips. And then what I indulge myself in is going on vacation with my family. It's one of my greatest joys. We try to get together every year, all three of my daughters and my grandson and myself. We go somewhere special for the week. And then I like to pay it forward, and I like to attend wellness conferences because it is the perfect recharge each year. This is just some of the things that I've enjoyed doing. This is me hiking the Arizona Trail, deep sea fishing. That's our Therapy Thursdays. I like Chiefs football, and this is us in the Rogue River in Oregon, and we're on like a speedboat trip. That's my grandson with his cute little face. And then this is me and my good friend Yanni, and we're in Moab on many hikes. I think we hiked 48 miles that particular weekend. So aside from having, fun things in your life, I want to just really stress the significance of maintaining a healthy perspective, but also to know that just putting a little bit of fun things in your life isn't going to cut it. You have to seek professional help if you need it, and I did. And so I would like to just say thank you to Brian French and Firestrong for coordinating myself, and my therapist. We are a good team, and I am so thankful for Dr. Shante and her professionalism and her ability to do EMDR therapy. It has made a significant difference to me. I am able to hold conversations. That's how I know that I'm bettering myself, that I know I'm getting better, is that I'm able to hold conversations freely and frankly without welling up with tears and without not being able to finish my sentences. I can talk freely and frankly about the significant and painful memories without losing my composure. So I know that my therapy is absolutely helping. It's also helping me sort out some of the details. Some of my memories weren't really clear on, why I was so upset with some of the things that happened to me as a child. And it has proven to be a world of good to me. So I encourage every one of you to seek therapy if you think it might be of some use to you. It is worth its weight in gold, and it's worth the time, it's worth the money, and it's worth the effort to partake in. So just stress the significance of maintaining a healthy perspective. Myself and the first responders that I'm addressing today need to understand that maintenance is an action word. It's not just a one and done sort of undertaking. You need to consistently work at improving your mental health and sustaining your mental health. So now that my own mental health is strengthened and bolstered, that enables me to be a better employee, enables me to be a better mentor, a better trainer, a better person in general, a better family member, and a better friend. And so I would like to encourage all of you to do your best in improving your own mental health. Most importantly, it allows me to be the helper that I dreamed of when I was a little girl. So 41 years ago, when the first responders came into my house and they saved my mother, and I identified immediately that I wanted to be useful like that. It has, my mental health and my resurrection of my mental health has really played a large role in knowing that I've finally arrived at the place where I can be a good assistance or a good value to others in times of crisis. So I'll continue to be that, and I know that this is going to sustain me through the rest of my career. I have about 6 more years to go until I can retire, and it's going to help me throughout the rest of my life, making peace with my choices and sustaining my mental health until I can return to be with my parents again. I encourage every one of you to turn your own pains into purpose, be a force of positivity in your workplace and in your personal lives, and you can make a difference for yourselves and others in turn. And thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you, and thank you for your patience with me. And my final thought before we close this is that the journey from trauma to healing is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. So each and every step that you can make towards self-care, empathy, and personal growth is a step towards helping others and making the world a better place. Thank you so much for your time.